Good evening, welcome back to Oxsports Unleashed, the first of the second half of the Series 3. And as you may have just noticed immediately, we don't have Woodsy with us this evening because yet again Woodsy's cried off sick for the umpteenth time this year. He always used to say that I'm the sick note, but he's up in bed with a bad cold apparently.
He's very ill. He sounds very bad actually. So when he's been on we had an editorial Monday night and he was coughing and sputtering, so he barely got through it before his voice gave out. So yeah, we wish him very well. Woodsy, do get well soon if you're watching live this evening.
Yes, please do, because you know, as much as I love Colin to bits, it's missing my right hand man. It's like my right arm's been chopped off at the shoulder. So what have we got coming up this evening? Well, we've got quite a bit coming up actually. We've got your normal Saturday roundup of football from the weekend just gone. We will hope to be bringing you the best of the action over the Christmas and New Year period, because obviously we've been away for 3 or 4 weeks. So we are going to round up some of that action. There's some cracking goals in there, I have to say, worth waiting for. We'll talk a little bit about cricket as well, a bit of ice hockey, and Rugby, who are obviously flying the flag for Oxfordshire at the second tier of English rugby, and they're doing pretty well. And they broke their record for home attendance just recently, so we'll bring you some news on that as well. So what we're going to do to start off with is we're going to round up the weekend action just gone. We were hoping that we could bring you some highlights of Oxford City's long trip to South Shields, and they went to South Shields, a bit of a sightseeing tour. They might have seen the Angel of the North perhaps as they drove up there. They travelled up the night before, but as you can see on the screen there, they got all the way up there, nearly a 600-mile round trip, only for the referee to call the game off about an hour and 10 minutes before kick-off. And I know that a lot of South Shields supporters were very apologetic to Oxford City fans, because that's a heck of a trip, and it's going to be a hell of a trip for midweek. The current producer, who's Patrick, who didn't decide to go up to South Shields, and said he might go up for the midweek game. What time are you set off for a midweek game? About 9 o'clock in the morning, probably something like that. So yeah, the game was off, very controversial really, and Ross Jenkins had something to say about that afterwards. As you can see, I'll let Colin do his finest impression of Ross Jenkins for you.
Yeah, he said that our fans travel up and down the country to watch us, and that's not changed today. Big credit to them for making the journey and all the effort and time expense it's taken to travel here for our longest trip of the season. Hopefully we can see them on Tuesday evening at Chorley, more of that later, and give them performance to make them feel even better. One comment from a South Shields fan on the Twitter there says, "My club's an absolute shambles. Hope you beat us in a rearranged game." From a South Shields fan, a club in massive decline. A big sorry to you and your players for all this insanity. So there you are, from a South Shields fan. So not happy at all.
No, and I saw a social media bit on X with Micah Richards, who thought he was going up to watch the North Shields versus Bolden CA match. And he turned up at South Shields instead, and didn't understand why it was Oxford City there. He had no idea that he was at the wrong game. And had he gone to North Shields, he could have seen that game, because that one did go ahead, apparently. So I know that the die-hard City fans had a very good day up in Newcastle anyway. Mark Neal particularly, because he goes everywhere, all over the country, he racks up the miles, and yeah, it's always good to follow Mark Neal on X and Facebook, because he's always in a pub somewhere and always enjoying himself, irrespective of whether their game's played or not. So yeah, that was how that happened, and I'm going to hand over now to Colin just to round up the rest of the action that did take place on Saturday.
Okay, so Banbury United's troubled season, more of that I think in later programmes, continues, because they played a goalless draw at home to Bishop Stortford. Next up came Didcot Town. They did a lot better at away at Cribs. 3-0 winners there. Goals from Jesson Wright and 2 from Connor Barrett, named man of the match in the national non-league paper for their trip out there, as Jamie Heapy's side continues to do pretty well in that league. Meanwhile, across the countryside, Tame United, they fought out a 2-2 draw away at Welling Garden City. Ty Deacon and Dan West tapping in for Tame United, so points were shared, as you can see there, away in Hertfordshire. And we got some Didcot highlights too as well, so coming up before that, so here we are, Didcot highlights now.
not too easy. We're just strolling back, ain't we? Come on! Give it up! Come on! Put the speakers away.
Lots of ticks today. 400th appearance, birthday, clean sheet, 3 points. How will that, man?
Coleswold, his Saturday was every one of them, wasn't it? That's brilliant. You know, you want to mark the occasion with a clean sheet. Done it. Get the points. Done it. Obviously, shame I couldn't get a goal, but again, it's one of those games more about the points and getting on the board and keep kicking up that table again.
I mean, it was good today to get a win. It seems like ages since we've played, and we've got a busy 3 games at home now in a week. So to get that today for the boys, you know, it were a big win.
Yeah, it's massive. And if you lose a game, you've got to kick on with a win or a positive result. And I think we've done that today. Leaves us good stead for Tuesday, and then obviously a big month in total. So yeah, good things to come hopefully.
I mean, Ben for me today, for a lad who played for 6 months, he looked like he'd never been away.
Oh, he's massive in there. Yeah, his engine, his heading, his kicking, his presence, it's brilliant. And yeah, he had a good game today. And yeah, good to have him back.
I tell you what, Kieren, 400 appearances, Lyon Ryde. These guys are absolute stalwarts of non-league football, aren't they? Legends, yeah. I think we should also mention Reece Fleet. He's up to 432 appearances for Oxford City.
He really is, terrific.
Which is a fantastic result as well. So there we are then. So that's the Didcot Town. Sorry we jumped ahead a little bit there and did Tame as well. But 2 more from last Saturday. Biggleswade 1, Killington 0. Unfortunately, Killington's season is going from a little bit bad to worse. Next up, bottom of the shop, I'm afraid, Northley got beaten 3-0 away at Kings Langley. So that's a pretty depressing time for fans of Northley there at the moment. You've got some better news there, haven't you, for the local team?
I have indeed. We'll go through the other steps 4 onwards first. So Ardley went to Wembley. Yay, good old Ardley. And they came away with a 2-0 win. It wasn't, unfortunately, under the arches. It was Wembley Football Club. We say this joke every time one of our sides go to Wembley. But yeah, Wembley 0, Ardley United 2. And their manager, Jules McCowan, was obviously a very happy man after the game.
Another good performance. Thought on, I didn't get to speak to you Wednesday night. I thought we were superb. Real good performance and looked like a class act. And then to come here, a difficult place. They're a very difficult side to play against. Get on at the ref quite a bit. Big, strong. You knew what they were going to be about, and to handle that, to play some good football at times. Got away with a 2-0 victory. I'm delighted. Puts us in a good place.
So you referenced Wednesday there where I couldn't speak to you. We're into the next round there, and now we've got the quarter-finals on Thursday night. Is this a kind of victory that you prepare for that?
Yeah, we're just looking New Cup. We said after the Milton game we had a bit of a heart-to-heart and said all we can do is just keep winning games of football. And if we win games of football or minimal competing games of football and need ourselves a chance to win the game, we'll see where it ends up. And I think these boys will be successful. I think if they can maintain their standard that they're producing at the moment, they've got every chance to be very successful.
There you go, that's Jules McCalman, reflecting on that 2-0 win at Wembley. I think he needs to invest in a new coat. His zip seems to have broken a little bit, and it was quite cold again on Saturday, I know that, even though I wasn't actually at a game. But a really good victory there for Ardley United. Elsewhere, in step 4 and 5, Wallingford and Crowmarsh had a draw, 1-1 against can't read that actually, but there you go. haven't got a clue who VW are, to be honest. So
Wallingford
just
and
move on.
No, I don't
move
know.
on.
Yeah.
Haven't got a clue who that is. Anyway, they drew 1-1. I should have checked that beforehand. Milton United lost 3-0 at Bedfont Sports in the Combined Counties League. So a disappointing afternoon for Milton United. And moving on to the Hellenic League, and a good win for Abingdon United. They beat top of the table Droitwich Spa by 2-1. Terrific victory there for Abingdon United. Wantage Town, they had a 2-2 draw in their game. And Clanfield, also in Division 1, they finished with a 3-0 victory. Almost call that a local derby. Southam just north of Banbury. Clanfield 3, Southam 0 in Hellenic League Division 1. Right, so we now will be able to bring you the roundup of some of the festive and New Year football and rugby that we had while we've been away. There's some cracking goals in this little feature from Dan Smith. And we start with games before Christmas, and here is the roundup from Dan.
If the festive period is anything to go by, then sport in Oxfordshire really did have its ups and downs over the festive period.
Oxford City take a deserved lead with a really deft touch from Josh Parker.
Oxford City started with a 1-1 draw away at Darlington, then had what seemed a tough fixture away to Rushall Olympic. A last-minute winner made sure the points was heading back to Oxford.
And it's smash and grab, but Oxford City have scored a Route 1 goal.
Defeat to near rivals Brackley Town on New Year's Day may have dampened the mood a little bit for Ross Jenkins' men.
And it was Matt Lowe, I think.
Jamie Heapy and his railwaymen from Didcot had quite a good festive period. A win away at Cribs was followed by victory at home to Malvern Town. Banbury United had quite a mixed festive period, with a lot of their games being postponed due to the pitch at the Spencer Stadium being flooded. However, they did manage to scrape 2 wins over the festive period, this one in particular against St Ives Town. There was one fixture in particular over the festive period that everybody in West Oxfordshire seemed quite keen to come and watch. Ben Reardon and his men really did put on a show for the 160 people that packed the Witney Community Stadium for their fixture at the top of the table against Oakley United. Chinner Rugby also had a mixed festive period.
Now there's an opportunity here. It's really good handling. Now there's a chance. That's the right-hand side, left-hand side to Kieren Goss. And it will.
Oh, that's a great try, Kieren.
Brilliant try.
An historic win over Bedford Blues was dampened by a defeat
Right on the line at the
to
moment.
Ealing.
Can Chinner get themselves another try? It looks like they have every opportunity to do so. Right on the line. The referee's looking.
He's given it.
And it's
Yes,
a try
that's a
to
try for
Chinner.
Well, superb shift drive off the back of that line out.
Nick Easter and his men shouldn't be downhearted though, but let's see what 2025 brings to our teams across our great county.
Thank you very much, Dan. That's Dan Smith with a really good roundup of all the action from over the Christmas and New Year period. I did my research while the VT was running. VWFC is Virginia Water, so apologies. I'm sure there's nobody from Virginia Water watching, but
You'll know
apologies
next time,
to Wallingford and Cromarsh. That's who you drew 1-1 with. One other result to mention from the weekend just gone, actually, was in the Oxfordshire County Women's Cup, and that was Oxford City ladies. They beat Barton United by 7-0 to move themselves through to the next round. So well done to Oxford City.
You haven't mentioned Witney Town, have you?
I haven't mentioned Witney Town
You
yet.
should do, shouldn't you?
Yes,
On
in the
Saturday.
County Cup on Saturday. So Witney Town, as we saw in that little compilation just then, have gone top of the league in the Oxfordshire Senior League Division 2. On Saturday, they went over to KEA, who are a league above, in the semi-finals of the Oxfordshire Charity Cup, and they ran out 4-0 winners away from home to book their place in a final in their very first season back. And we will definitely get ourselves over to that final. It'll be against, I believe, Yarnton are one of the sides. I think it's Yarnton or Hayford, I think, in the final. But that game is to be played next week. But well done to Whitney, well done to Ben Reardon and all the team and the coaching staff there. Terrific victory again. They're having a cracking season.
They are indeed. So let's turn our attention now to Tuesday evening. City had better luck on Tuesday because they picked up a point in a goalless draw away at Chorley. At least they got a game under their belt. Didcot also drew 0-0 at home to Cornish club Helston as well. We have got some footage. There we are.
Yeah, a little bit of highlights from City's game. A couple of opportunities for Josh Parker, and he should have scored both of them. I think that was a really good goal line clearance. I think it was still a pretty good result. I mean, a 0-0 up at Chorley, and they're a really good side. It's a decent result. But perhaps looking at the highlights that we've got, albeit with no sound, perhaps City could have had more. There's another chance here for Josh Parker, pretty much through on goal. Good save from the goalkeeper to keep it at 0-0. I have travelled to Chorley once in my life, and I spent the whole match covering Banbury sitting on a seat full of bird poo.
I can talk about bird poo a little bit later on.
Oh, jolly good.
Article. Yeah. Okay. So Didcot also drew at home on Tuesday evening to Cornish club Helston. Now Helston's right down the Lizard Peninsula, probably one of the furthest journeys they've got to do. So Tuesday night, it must have been an overnight or two. Couldn't do that
so, wouldn't
day,
you?
could you say? At least they got a game though. Tame United though, they got a bit of a beating away at Hadley as they lost 3-0. North League, where their bad season has gone from bad to worse as well. They lost 2-0 at home to Hertford Town. Tuesday night also Banbury United were in the Oxfordshire Senior Cup, and while the senior players of Oxford United were beating Luton 3-2, 3 goals from defenders, okay, fantastic evening there, also coming from behind. The Oxford United youth team absolutely battered Banbury 6-0 to progress in the Oxfordshire Senior Cup. And what, sir?
We know that
Yes.
Their video highlights, which we haven't got for you, but they went absolutely viral because Marcelino Ferdinand, the Indonesian international, scored a couple of the goals, and I think their video at last count was around about 95,000 views, which is a little bit more than Banbury get in their home games.
Absolutely.
The other goals for United on the night, so 2 from Marcelino Ferdinand, 2 from Leo Snowden, and 2 from Harrison Bradney. How's that for remembering names without writing them down, Colin?
Really good. You get full marks tonight. 5 marks. So, now, finally, this little roundup. I know it's not a local, but I thought I'd share with you an example of the sort of challenges that non-league football clubs face.
Speaking of bird poo.
Yeah, bird poo. You've sat on bird poo there. So, the headline on the national newspapers was "Foul play stops football match." Okay, a non-league football club had a match called off 30 minutes before kick-off after a flock of geese left the pitch covered with excrement. West allotment, the Celtic FT's opposition Sheem Red Star, first noticed the voluminous amounts deposited by the geese at West allotment's ground in Forest Hall in North Tynesdale on Sunday. Volunteers gamely attempted to help clear the pitch, but ultimately the quantity was just too much and the match was abandoned 30 minutes before kick-off. That's the first time I've heard that.
Poo stop play.
Poo stop play. Kieren.
And that was up in the northeast as well, wasn't it?
Indeed,
So there was obviously a big problem up in the northeast, weather and geese. So
West allotment Celtic, that's a great name, West allotment Celtic FT.
yeah, and you'd have thought if they were called the allotments, they'd have loads of wheelbarrows.
They
to spare,
would,
wouldn't you?
yeah,
To clear them out
they'd
there.
pick it up for fertiliser.
2 Oxford City fans tried to go to that game.
And our producer has just said that 2 Oxford City fans, I can guess who one of them was probably Mark Neal, tried to go to that game. So perhaps Mark Neal could have taken his shovel and his wheelbarrow with him and helped clear the pitch.
Absolutely.
Right, we're just going to change sports now and just round up a little bit of ice hockey for you. The Oxford City Stars were in action at the weekend, and we'll bring you the result that they had in a moment, and it was a 5-2 defeat against the Romford Buccaneers. And if Darryl was here, he'd be wetting himself with joy because he just loves all these names. Oxford City Stars 2, Romford Buccaneers 5. But that's not a bad scoreline really compared with some of the results we've seen from Oxford City Stars this year, and it looks like it was a pretty entertaining game. Lots of shots on goal, and as Darryl has often said, it's really worth getting yourself down to the Oxpens ice rink if you get a chance, particularly on a Sunday when they play their home games, because it's really good entertainment. Coming up for the City Stars, speaking of games, this weekend they are at home to the Cardiff Fire. Face off at 6:15 at the Oxford Ice Rink this Sunday. So as we say, just get yourself down there. You can get tickets on their website, oxfordcitystars.com.
At least the game won't be called off because the pitch is frozen.
It shouldn't be frozen, but it might be melted because they're playing the fire.
Okay,
so,
right,
just saying. Right, okay, we're going to move on to a bit of cricket as well now, because we've got a couple of local legends, young legends, I suppose you could say, that are in action for England. Abby Norgrove, of course, was named as the captain of the England under-19s, and they had a really solid day in their first game in the World Cup, in the T20. They beat the USA to go top of the group in the early stages. Abby Norgrove, she's got one not out, but a comfortable 8-wicket victory there. USA 119 for 5, and England cruising home at 120 for 2. For Scotland, Pippa Sprouse 43 saw her to the third most runs in the competition. As you can see there, you can watch them in 2025. I'll say this, Colin, because you're a Hampshire fan. If you want to go down to Hampshire, you can watch them in action. James Coles, the Sussex boy who's come through the Oxfordshire ranks, where he's been involved with the England Lions down in Australia. They're playing Cricket Australia down under at the moment. But the star was undoubtedly a certain Mr. Flintoff, who, not him, it was his lad, 16 years old, or 16 and a half years old, Rocky Flintoff, got 108 as England scored 319 in reply to Australia's 214 all out. James Cole's only got 1, but in the second innings, Australia are already 33 for 1. They're still quite a long way behind. So hopefully we'll see James Coles getting a few wickets perhaps in the second innings, and who knows, scoring a few runs and maybe knocking off those winning runs. But I saw some of the highlights of Rocky Flintoff, and he's so like his dad in every way. He's got that sort of swagger about him, and nothing arrogant at all, but it's just really good to see. And let's hope that England can actually turn things around, because the women are not having a great time of it down under at the moment. They are losing heavily at every opportunity at the moment.
Just going back to James Coles, I've watched him against Hampshire playing for his county side, and then for Hampshire too in a short form game, and he's pretty good, and he's good to watch. So maybe he's just not doing too well. Out away from home.
Well, he's been coached by Darryl, so he's going to be good, isn't he? And he's a left-hander as well.
Leave Darryl alone. Get well soon.
He's left-hander. Right, hopefully we're going to have some results for you, and I'm just going to wait for the... no, we're not going to have the results because they haven't arrived, so we will move on, and we'll go on to the league tables and then the fixtures for the week ahead. Apologies, we haven't got the results at the moment. They may be in before the end of the show. It's going to be a pretty short show this evening, I have to say. But we will come to the league table. So Oxford United, well, they're flying, aren't they, Colin?
They are. They're very
since
good.
Gary Rowett came in, they won again in midweek. They've moved up to 14th in the table now, 35 points from 28 games.
Yeah, and also it's not just the changing manager, they've also done extremely well in the transfer market.
Absolutely.
The January window. I mean, they've got some fantastic players that have been coming in. They've gone straight into design as well. The past history of United has been they brought in players who've been injured.
Yes.
But now they're getting players coming in who are sort of fresh out of the box, straight on the pitch and doing well.
Absolutely.
3 defenders scored on Tuesday night.
I saw, absolutely. And one of them got the man of the match as well. And interesting to note, because I heard this from Jerome on Tuesday, is they're now closer to the playoffs than they are the relegation zone. So let's see. They're playing Stoke this weekend, so we'll see if they can carry on. Into the National League North, obviously, as we've said, City's game on Saturday was called off. They got a useful point up at Chorley. That was nearly called off as well, actually. There was a pitch inspection, I believe, half an hour before kick-off for a waterlogged pitch. But thankfully, that one did go ahead, because that would have been an absolute nightmare. But as you can see, they are still comfortably above the relegation zone at the moment, and they're starting to get a couple of games in hand around some of the teams around them. But they've got a tough one coming up, but hopefully they'll continue to climb the table, and we will follow their fortunes for the rest of the season. Into the Premier Division Central of the Southern League, a 0-0 draw for Banbury against Bishop Stortford at the weekend. They are mid-table, 32 points from 24 games. It doesn't show you here though on this table that it is still really, really tight, and actually Banbury's form is pretty good because they had a really good win on the 3rd or 4th of January, the first Saturday after Christmas. They went to AFC Sudbury and won that game with a new signing, Dan Jarvis from Kettering, scoring a couple of goals and could have had a hat-trick. And a couple of victories for Banbury, and they could very easily push themselves towards those playoff places. Division 1 Central of the Southern League. Division 1 South of the Southern League rather. Didcot Town are in 9th place after that win last Saturday and then the draw in midweek. Again, pretty tight there, as you can see, just a couple of points separating sort of 6 or 7 teams. So again, a couple of wins and Didcot could be pushing themselves towards the playoff positions. Now we'll go to Division 1 Central, and not so good, really. Tame United out of the playoff places at the moment. They lost 3-0 in midweek against Hadley, but they have got games in hand, as you can see, a couple of games in hand on the sides above them, and they're still fairly handily placed, and if they can just return to winning ways, they are having a chance to push themselves into those playoff positions. No such fortune, though, for the bottom 2, the bottom 3. Oh, dear. Kidlington struggling, but North Lee, bless them, they are really in the mire now. Look, 6 points only from 24 games. Michael Hopkins has left the club, the manager as well, so it's not looking good for North Lee.
It's not looking good for North Lee, but I just have to say big up to them, because they've got 6 points so far in this campaign. The same number of points that my home team Southampton have got in the Premiership, and I guarantee you North Lee's wage bill is a lot less than Southampton's.
You reckon?
I do.
I reckon it probably is. Yeah. Probably is. Moving on to some more tables for you. We've got Women's National League South now, and we have not got that because the producers put the wrong tables up. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Virginia Water's there, though.
Combined Counties Football League, Virginia Water are 5th. Thank you, Colin, for that. Ardley United are in 7th place at the moment, 38 points from 25 games. And anybody's guess what tables are coming next, so I'll just wait. And it's going to be the Combined Counties Division 1 North bottom half. Milton United 11th, and Wallingford and Crowmarsh are in 14th place. We don't just throw this together, do we?
Oh, yes, we do.
Moving on, and let's see what's coming up next. It's the United Counties League, and Easington Sports haven't had a game over the last couple of weekends, so they are in 15th place at the moment, but as you can see, loads of games in hand.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough, isn't it? Because I mean, we talked before about the fact that the leagues don't extend the season. It's a double-edged sword because that means they've got to pay players extra wage and things there, but it does mean these part-time players end up playing sort of 2 or 3 times a week towards the end of the season, so it's going to be a tough old thing for Easington Sports.
Yeah, absolutely, but games in hand, you know, they could push themselves up a little bit anyway, and they're flying the flag for North Oxfordshire for us. Moving on, and we will now look at the Southern Division of the Women's National League. Oxford United have dropped down a little bit, actually, down to 6th place, 22 points from 13 games. And moving on to Division 1 Southwest of the National League, and as you can see, Aberdeen United in 9th position at the moment, 8 points from 13. Southern Regional Women's Football League Premier Division, no league game for City this week, so they are in 4th place. So we mentioned their County Cup victory over Barton United, but 4th place, 22 points from 11 games, and with the exception really of Ascot, who are running away with it a bit, it is very, very tight in that league as well. Colin, fixtures.
Yeah, fixtures coming up. So Oxford United have got a trip away to Stoke City on Saturday at 12:30 kick-off. And in the National League North, it's Oxford City at home to Kidderminster Harriers. There's a name, isn't it, to conjure with a famous name from the league past. What have we got next coming up then? Right, Southern League Premier Central, Bedford Town are entertaining Banbury United. In Southern League Division 1 South, Didcot Town are entertaining Cinderford Town. That's at Luke Meadow, 3 o'clock kick-off both those games. In Southern League Division 1 Central, Tame United host North Lee, so a local derby there, okay, and a chance for North Lee, as far as Tame United, probably put a few more points on the board for them. And in Southern League Division 1 Central, Killington do not have a game.
They're at home to Nah. Killington are at home to Nah.
Meanwhile, Women's League Division 1 South West, I think this is Sunday, I believe, 26th of January, Aberdeen United host Bridgewater United. And in the Premier League, Bagshot Lee entertain Oxford City, 2 p.m. kickoffs there on Sunday, 26th of January.
Fantastic. I think the camera's died again, like it did a couple of weeks ago. I have to blame Patrick for that because it died last time he was on. So we'll just keep talking. We're actually coming close to the end of the show anyway. So just a couple of pleas, really. If you want to have your videos or interviews featured, you can email them into us, oxsportsunleashed@gmail.com. That's oxsportsunleashed@gmail.com. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we've got a table cricket disability feature with Darryl, who's going to go up and look at table cricket and see if he's just as good at that as he is at normal cricket with, I think, Dick Giles. So he's going to go up and do that. And table cricket is amazing. It's absolutely amazing stuff, and it'd be really, really good to see that feature. We're also going to have a walking football feature. That sounds good for me, walking football. I could cope with that, along with some netball and more dodgeball updates as well. So lots and lots of things to look forward to in the coming weeks, if our camera works, that is. Just going to go back to rugby just before we close out the show. It is a short one tonight. So we mentioned Chinner a few times this evening. So last weekend, Friday night game, they entertained the top of the table Ealing Trailfinders. Ealing running out quite comfortable winners, actually, 28 points to 8. But the big talking point was the crowd was well over 2,000, 2,146. Fantastic turnout. They're getting crowds in excess of 1,500 every week. Even the game before Christmas, when it was blowing a hoolie, they had 1,500 in the ground when they played Doncaster Knights when the lights went out. So they're getting some really, really good crowds, and it is definitely worth a visit to Kingsley Road because it's top quality rugby, and worth going along if you get the opportunity.
I think people in Oxfordshire are sport for choice because Whitney Town are getting 200 people turning up for their games. Oxford United at the moment, they're sellout crowds, sort of 11,000, 12,000 are there. Fantastic fireworks now and all sorts of things that are going on a Tuesday night.
Fantastic trumpets, I heard.
Yeah, the trumpets were
It's worth watching the trumpets if you get a chance.
If you get a chance to watch that, do watch it back to start to Tuesday night's game at the Sam Stadium. It was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, really, really good. Just talking about Chinner, they have a home game this weekend. They're at home to Ampthill on Saturday. Ampthill beat them earlier in the season, but it was pretty much a Saracens sort of side, so they're a good little side, and Chinner will be looking to return to winning ways because they're holding their own in the championship this season, and fair play to them, they're doing very, very well. Well, apologies that the camera has failed, and it just sort of sums up the night really, because when Darryl's not here, it all goes to pot, doesn't it? But that is a pretty short and truncated Oxsports Unleashed this evening, just a 30-minute show. But we will be back with our normal action next week, and please join us then. And hopefully, Colin, Darryl will be back with us, but I'm going to make sure that he's 100% fit. I don't want to catch his lurgy. But all joking aside, Darryl, hope you get well soon. And that is that for this evening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with us through the technical difficulties, and we will say good night for now, and we will see you next week. So from me, it's good night.
And from myself, Colin Ryde, good night too.